Good afternoon. I am Sheriff Michelle Cook, and I'm excited that you are joining us here today for the Clay County Sheriff's Office first ever live Facebook recruiting event. So over the next few minutes, you're going to have the opportunity to meet and hear from these professionals that are behind me about what it takes to be a member of the Clay County Sheriff's Office. You know, we're hiring for a lot of positions and we're looking for the future, and I hope that everybody watching this today can be a part of that future. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm going to first introduce Chief Tina Chapman. Tina, if you want to introduce yourself. And
Sure, Sheriff. Tina Chapman. I'm the Chief of Human Resources and Professional Standards. I've been with the agency a little over 23 years now. I've held multiple positions, some including civilian and sworn.
So I'm Jacob Hawkins. I am our new hire training coordinator, assigned to the training unit, 23 years with the agency. 15 years of that I've been on our SWAT team, as well as had numerous positions throughout the agency.
Yeah, I'm Mark Makar. I work in communications. I'm a PST, or 911 operator, dispatcher. Been here about 2 years.
Tanisha Maslin. I've been here for about 7 years now. I'm the sergeant over our ARC unit, which is our admission, releasing, and classification field training officer, as well as a member of our emergency response team inside the jail.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Ford. I am the Public Information Officer for the Clay County Sheriff's Office, also a sworn deputy. I know you can't see me because I am behind the scenes, but I will also be moderating today's event. So thank you for joining us today. And so we'll get started because we did have some questions that did come in previously as we advertised that we were doing this Facebook Live recruiting event. So Chief Chapman, I do have a question for you that did come in. How long does the hiring process take?
It depends on which position you're applying for. If it's going to be a sworn position, it could take anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks because it's extensive backgrounds, polygraph, and certain qualifications you have to meet. If it's a civilian position, it's going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, maximum 8 weeks.
Okay. And so, Jake, you know, you just talked about your experience in being over here at the Sheriff's Office for a little over 23 years, and 15 of those years being, you know, with the SWAT team. But a question came in, and one of those questions was, what does your training consist of?
Sure. So when you're hired with the Clay County Sheriff's Office, either in a law enforcement, detention, and or civilian, we host our own mini academies at this agency. So for a law enforcement detention, typically it's like a 7-week program where you basically learn how the Clay County Sheriff's Office does stuff, from the high liability where we do firearms training, defensive tactics training, active shooter response training, as well as driving, pit, numerous different things that we actually give a bunch of different options to the different people that work here. Civilian side, everybody goes through active shooter training, how to respond, as well as driving and multiple different stuff with the agency.
Okay, and just to piggyback off that, Sergeant Maslin, because you're a sergeant in our detention department, so can you explain to some of our viewers out there who may have some questions that may want to come over on the detention side, what type of training they need or would receive if they came and worked for the Sheriff's Office?
The training inside the jail would be consistent with, you know, everything else in the agency. We do hold our what we call our block trainings, where we have to do our recertification every year. And then depending on what specialty team you're on, that training, of course, will you know, be determined there. We also have other certifications where you can go and do the training, like breath test operator, our field training officer, and things like that.
Good. And so we did have a question that did come in early also, again, as we were advertising this. And one of the questions was, what are the day-to-day operations? So for you as a sergeant being in corrections or detention, what are some of the day-to-day operations that you oversee, but even before you were a sergeant, you did on a daily basis?
So day-to-day inside the jail, being in the ARC unit against our admission, releasing, and classification. So it starts from the time they come in the door. It's dealing with all the paperwork. We also deal with and interact with the public as well, having visitors come in, the releasing process. We also, the sanitation rounds, security, ultimately it's care, custody, and control. but maintaining that security in the facility and make movement going to those different programs and things like that.
Okay. And Chief, we do have a question for you. Are you hiring people who need to go to the police academy, or do you need that training already to get hired on with the sheriff's office?
Well, we would prefer you to come certified. So the sponsorship programs, that's what we call the ones that come in that have not been certified yet. We do have positions that are available for them if they're not currently filled. So we have a certain amount of positions that we can do for sponsorships for, and that has a budget impact. So currently, they're full. But if someone is interested in coming and being sponsored, if they contact Human Resources, they can get put on a waiting list.
Okay. And so, Mark, you being one of our public safety telecommunicators, and folks have asked the question, are there any other positions within the sheriff's office other than sworn or detention that people can apply for?
Right.
And can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, we're hiring public safety telecommunicators. It'd be a 911 operator. You would get hired here. I think the only requirement other than the normal background checks and whatnot is you have to take a typing test because you're going to be typing on the computer all day. Then after that, Florida State requires a state certification, which is an online class. You would take that, and then you would be put with a communications training officer for the next couple phases of each position.
Okay. And speaking of our 911 dispatchers, our public safety telecommunicators, what is the quality and the skill set? You know, because you just spoke to in reference typing, but what other qualities or skill sets that folks will need?
Absolutely. So you need somebody that can stay calm under pressure. The calls we get are sometimes very hectic, so you need to be calm, because if you are just as at their level, it doesn't accomplish anything. You need to be calm to calm them down so we know where to go and send the right people.
So Jake, can you elaborate a little more? You know, you being out there on patrol,
Sure.
Listening to or getting a 911 call, and speak to what it means for a 911 operator to be calm, so that not only for them to get the information from the person calling in, but then they're relaying that information to our deputies who are responding.
Absolutely. So imagine you're responding to a call, but you can't see it. You know, you're hearing and dealing with somebody that's in their immediate crisis. Whatever the scenario, insert the scenario, whatever it may be, that person is in a crisis right then and there. So the 911 or telecommunication dispatchers, they're trying to get that person the information, have them get everything, then turn around and put it to the deputies to get it out there to, or on the computer, and pushed out to our deputies as well. So it is very important. So on multiple different levels, from a civilian side, we say they're the heroes behind the badge, so to speak, because they are that calming voice in the middle of a storm.
Okay. And so we did have a question that come in. If you were already or had already worked with CCSO, Clay County Sheriff's Office, can you reapply to come and work for the Sheriff's Office again?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then another question came in. If you're a totally different career field, so you're not even involved in law enforcement, can you apply for any other field within the Sheriff's Office, human resources? Again, you know, those positions that, you know, particularly aren't sworn related.
Oh, absolutely. So currently, I believe we have about 6 civilian positions. We have 2 positions in HR. We have an HR supervisor position open. We have an HR specialist position open. We have nursing positions open in the jail. We have building maintenance. We have custodian. So there's an array of positions that's in the sheriff's office.
Okay.
So if I can add a little bit of that real quick. So another thing is like this, if you use one specific area as a stepping stone. So like when I started here, I started in a civilian capacity, went through the police academy and worked my way through the different careers. So a lot of people may get into this business, say, oh, I would just like to just come here and work in records. Well, then they turn around and develop into something else. Like, oh, I want to go into the law enforcement or the detention side. Well, guess what? You're already employed. You're already in the foot. A lot of our PSAs will hire PSA positions and then start getting them acclimated. One, because they already know the computer system. They're already familiar with the county, and there's multiple different areas that we could do. So just because it's not a sworn position, or that you may not originally may be interested in it, because my father worked here for 29 years, and I can assure you, growing up, I didn't really want to come here and work here. But I mean, here I am 23 years later.
So, essentially, for those young folks who are looking to get a career into law enforcement, but are young, are looking for a job, but they want to go into detention or patrol or another area of the sheriff's office. So for them, it's very beneficial, even if they want to get a foot in the door, to start in that process.
Oh, absolutely. So a lot of the high schools within the county offer different career paths. They offer academies. Like Clay High School offers a law enforcement academy. If you complete the program, you can actually get through and be a certified dispatcher or telecommunicator throughout the program. But it also gets you get your foot in the door. Is this something I'm really interested in? Maybe not. I mean, some of the individuals that work in our communication center have actually went through the program. So if we can get them early on and get them going in a career path, then guess what? You can retire early.
Okay.
And if I could weigh in on that as well, inside the jail, we also have our control room operators. They will come in, work as a control room operator, and then they could transition to, detention deputy, or cross over into law enforcement if they would like to do that as well. So it's, again, getting that foot in the door without coming in sworn.
And it's an easier path for sponsorship, right? So it is an easier path when we know those people that are coming in with that motive and that drive to give us what their career. We can see that individual, and then they would be put on that waiting list for that sponsorship.
Okay. So, and this is really good information because we also got a question that came in through Facebook. And it looks like it's coming from a retired law enforcement individual who said, what is the starting pay for a retired law enforcement officer with 22 years on with the sheriff's office?
So unfortunately, it's going to be the same as a starting deputy. It's $38,000. We do pay up to $2,500 at this point for we call it a sign-on bonus. So every 5 years, I think you get $500 or something to that effect. I'd have to reread the qualification, but they could get up to $2,500 one-time additional money for experience.
We did have another question come in where a person asked, and Jake, since we're sitting here looking at you in your Class B, a person did ask about the tattoo policy.
Sure.
So, can you explain
Sure.
to them?
No, yes. We currently do. We actually do have a tattoo policy. So obviously, if it's something deemed offensive, it has to be covered. No neck or facial or hand tattoos. But yes, that is one luxury. So because of being here for so long, there has been times when I would have to wear a Class A long sleeve uniform shirt. We are in 2021. It's more of the accepted norm. So it does. And in my personal opinion, it actually gets you where people will break down to you. You know what I mean? It's the tattoos. They're like, oh, I'll go talk to that officer because he's got tattoos. So, or he's got a beard. You guys got, yes, we can have beards. Once you're off probation, you pay for it, but it goes to charity.
And I think you hit on the conversational piece, Jake, is that's the icebreaker,
Absolutely.
Especially in a situation you enroll to where someone feel they can't talk to police, but they may be into tattoos. And that is the icebreaker that can help with a situation.
Sure.
So, Mark, we do have a question. Can you tell us about a call you remember that you handled that had an impact on you?
Yeah, actually, one of the first calls I got after being let go from my training officer was a suicide in progress. I actually heard the gunshot over the phone, and of course, the wife was hysterical, and we got the people. So yeah, that because it was my first one, I probably would always remember that one.
Okay. And so, and in that time, while a tragic situation, again, you stayed calm in that process to be able to get information you needed.
Absolutely.
So that you could relate.
Absolutely, because as I said before, it doesn't help them out if I'm not that way. I need to get the people there quick, especially in that kind of situation. Unfortunately, I don't believe he made it, but we got the location and we got the people there.
So we did have another question that came in that said, what is the educational level needed to be in the sworn position?
That would be your high school diploma or your GED equivalency.
Okay. And another person asked, what are some of the qualifications needed to be a crossing guard or a public service aide?
So those would be our civilian positions. So it's going to be your high school, your GED equivalency, and basically be able to read, write the English language, right? So we want them to be able to do that. We're going to want them to pass a polygraph, pass a background investigation, drug test. And I believe that's for those two specific positions, that's going to be the mandatory requirements.
And and anyone can chime in on this one. For the public safety aides, what we call PSAs, some folks may be inquiring, what is the PSA? So can you elaborate just a little bit of what our PSAs are and what they do out there to help assist the sheriff's office?
So they're going to be more or less I call them our traffic helpers. So they're going to assist our sworn guys on minor traffic offenses, directing traffic. If somebody's got they're broken down on the side of the road, changing their tires, anything that they can do to alleviate not having a sworn member at that area.
Okay.
So it'd basically be, they'll do currently like they work crossing guard details because we are the shortage of crossing guards. You know, so we would obviously can work our PSAs to where they're going to be able to handle non-emergency calls for service, so to speak. Like they'll work traffic crashes, they'll do found property. Again, to kind of reiterate, is that is a stepping stone for somebody that's younger that maybe want to get into it. Is they'll go in, they'll come through our mini academy program. They're going to turn around and they're going to get on-the-job training with our public safety aides, our PSAs, and then they get out on their own. They learn in the county, learn the computer system, learn in the radio, and it's just a smoother, easier transition if something that they would want to get further on. But there's other ones that just say they're either retired and they say, I would love to just to stay here and work this shift.
Absolutely, and I think, and like you said, we do need crossing guards.
Absolutely,
So
we're in a need of crossing
qualified candidates
Sure.
out there
Sure.
you know, who would love to help and assist with our young folks. Please go to
And some of the
PlaceSheriff.com.
locations, like say Keystone Heights, you know what I mean? If you're listeners or viewers in Keystone, and if we need some PSA or some crossing guards in there, then they'll try to do their best to try to accommodate for you guys in specific locations. Obviously now it's summertime, but we're still in the need once the school gets kicked off.
So we did have a question come in, and a person asked, what's the starting pay for dispatch salary for dispatchers?
I believe it's 30, and I say that hesitantly because we were just looking at that. I think it's 30,260-ish.
Okay. So someone also asked, do you need to be certified to be a dispatcher?
So you do not need to be certified to be a dispatcher. If you meet the mandatory qualifications, then we will bring you on, and I believe it's 232 hours.
Yes, the online class after the fact, yes, is 232
So we will
hours.
hire the right person, and we will pay for the training, and we will get them certified.
Okay, and Mark, so can you talk just a little bit about, so the online classes
Yeah.
and what folks can expect if they wanted to become a dispatcher?
Sure.
In the sheriff's office?
The online class is basically an online college class. You have each week you have a new set of assignments. I think it lasts 7 or 8 weeks to that, something like that. It starts out with like a history of where 911 even started and how it developed in Florida and whatnot, and then different procedures and how to remain calm and different things like that, how to actually take calls and to that effect. At the end there would be a test that you would need to pass, and then you'd have your certification.
Okay. So someone asked sponsorships, corrections or patrol. So do we do sponsorships for corrections or patrol?
We do. We do sponsorships for both disciplines.
Okay. And what about crossover? If someone was in corrections and they wanted to go out there into sworn and get on patrol, do we pay for crossover, or what is it that they need to do if they choose to take that route?
We can. That's not the norm. We don't typically have someone want to start with us and go to the crossover. Usually that's an internal sponsorship that occurs. I wouldn't say that we wouldn't do that. Obviously, for the right candidate, we probably would look into that?
We have had some that started in corrections and have done the crossover and went out for patrol. We've had a few.
Okay. So we got another question, and someone asks, what are the schedules for the dispatchers?
Dispatchers are going to work the same as the deputies. We work 12-hour shifts. You basically work 15 days a month. Can't beat that.
No.
Right?
Works out to, like he said before, 6 months out of the year if you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's 12-hour shifts, and sometimes it's a long day, but we're busy in here all the time. It goes quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like our patrol schedules, it's the same thing. Currently, we have 2 patrol shift schedules, 6 in the morning till 6 at night, 6 at night till 6 in the morning. Obviously, depending upon the manpower issues, we can actually maybe even think about adding a different watch or something on this line. And they have the admin shift 8 to 5 as well for different positions, but typically our patrol setting is 6 in the morning till 6 at night, or 6 at night till 6 in the morning.
And I think the biggest part about the patrol schedule, is that every other weekend off.
Yes, so you work 3 days,
Yes.
off 2, work 2, off 3. So you actually only work like 14 or 15 days out of the month.
Right.
Think about it, 6 months out of the year.
Every other weekend's a 3-day weekend.
That's right.
And that would be the
That's right.
same for detention as
Yeah.
well.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and hopefully that's the hugest selling piece for those, those folks who may look to come on and join our agency is you having a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. You have
correct.
a long weekend. So we got a question a couple of weeks ago. And a lot of times folks will come in and ask us questions, so I felt good to bring this one up. Can you tell us about the background process and what that entails and how long that process may take?
So right now we allot about 4 weeks for the background process. It depends on the discipline. Again, if you're coming for sworn, the background's a little more intensive than it is for a civilian, but background's going to start with a neighborhood canvas. They're going to go and look at your past employers. They're going to go and pull discipline files or your evaluations to show how good employee you were. Then they're going to put all that together and submit a report. Polygraph also will be included in that background. And then they give a summary of what kind, based on the neighborhood and the past employment, what that looks like for if you're a best fit for the sheriff's office.
Okay. And so another question that came in is a person that had said they have 18 years experience. What would be the average pay for someone with their experience? And I know we touched it on a little bit. If we can
For
just
sworn?
talk for it didn't say, but let's just say even if it
For
was
both,
for
okay.
sworn, for both, yes.
So unfortunately, being in government, we do not get to really adjust the pay based on experience. So we have a pay scale, but everyone really, the starting pay, the minimum pay is what we start at. We may be able to have a little fluctuation, and in a little, I mean like maybe $1,000. So unfortunately, we don't pay for experience. We just don't have the budget to do that.
Okay. One of the other questions that came in, what is one of the best parts of working at CCSO, at the Clay County Sheriff's Office, and why not other agencies?
Oh goodness, because we're family.
Right.
Being here for 23 years, I mean, there were days you don't want to come in, but 90% of the time you want to come in. They paid for my college, they paid for me to go to crossover, they paid for me to go to school, and they also paid for me to be a single mom and raise a family. So, I mean, I just think it's
I agree.
the
I agree.
benefits,
Yeah.
the leave.
One of the things that I really truly like about this agency is that you're not a number, you're a name. You can walk down the hallways and the sheriff or the command staff, and it just makes you feel at home because of the today's day and age that we live in. It is really comforting that you can come to a place of employment and feel like you're truly welcome, and it's like a family. Whether the sheriff comes out, whether, and she's talking to the briefing at the different levels or the command staff levels. And it's really nice to know that, because I'm just a deputy, that they'll call you by first name. And that's what kind of kept me here for the last 20-something years.
And it's the community. It's,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
the community and, the support that we get. And
The community loves us.
Yes,
I don't know if every sheriff's office or police department can say that, right? But Clay County has a huge, tremendous
Huge.
amount of community support.
And I think that's one of the things for those who may be live with us now is that CBS had just recently did a story with the sheriff's office, and our community and how we are loved in our community and how we are so entangled in our community, invested in there, because a lot of our deputies live in the county,
Sure.
in the community that they work in. So when you have that kind of investment, I think that says a lot on how you will, police in that county and be a good officer, good deputy. One of the questions some folks may ask is, I'm a certified law enforcement officer in another state. What is the process if I wanted to come down here to the sheriff's office or become certified in Florida?
So you would follow the same process as an in-state at this point. You do have to reach out to the nearest academy around here, usually at St. John's or FSCJ, and do an equivalency. I guess it's called an equivalency crossover. It's like a 2 to 3 week class, and then take the state exam for Florida.
Okay. And so we did have another question that came in, and I can speak to a little bit, again, this is Andrew Ford, the Public Information Officer. When I came down here to Florida, that coming from a different state, being sworn and certified, yes, you do take a 2-week training class. And then from there, you take that state certification, and once you pass that state certification, then you are now certified. You just need to get hired on with an agency so you can make that certification active. Another question we have, someone from the military. I am in the military and will be discharged in a few months. When should I start the application process?
I would say start as soon as possible. So typically we hire sworn three times a year, and that's based on the academies that we put them through, the mini academies that we have internally. So if you know that it's going to take at least 12 to 16 weeks to get the whole process completed, so I would start as soon as you can.
And so, and I know this question was answered because before, but we'll ask it again because people are out there asking. What is the starting pay for our dispatchers, but also what is the starting pay for our detention deputies?
Detention and law enforcement start the same. It's $38,000, and then obviously dispatchers are around $30,000.
Okay. So, and another question which I know we answered is, do you hire non-certified? And again, that speaks to our civilian side. So can you talk just a little more about that?
Yes, so we hire for everything you could think of. We hire for custodians, we hire for records, we hire for evidence, processing evidence, CSTs. Currently, we don't have openings in those positions, but anything in the private sector that you would need a job for, we hire here if there is an opening.
Okay. And one of the things I do know here at the Sheriff's Office is that even in our sworn positions in detention and patrol, we have several other units within those. So Jake and Tanisha, Sergeant Maslin, can you two also speak to those positions? Jake, you in patrol, sure, and Sergeant Maslin, you in detention, that folks, if they come and work for us and after a few years, what are some of the opportunities or upward movement positions that they can go
absolutely.
into?
So kind of the good thing about both positions inside the jail as well as outside on a patrol's perspective is, from a patrol's perspective, is that we have numerous different detective divisions, from property crimes, persons crimes, robbery, homicide, special victims, intel, we have ICAC. There's numerous levels of from the investigative side, as well as from the different specialty teams. We actually have SWAT, which again I've been a member of for 16, almost 17 years now. We also have a dive team. We have a swiftwater rescue team, which partnered with the Clay County Fire Rescue. If you're a boat or skip day, you probably saw some of them out there.
K9.
K9 divisions. So we, I'm trying to think if there's any other, traffic motor guys. We have motor guys, which is also where our public safety aides, our PSAs, they fall under our traffic division. I'm trying, I believe that's it from a patrol side.
Okay, and Sergeant Maslin, can you talk as far as detention, where some of the upward mobility folks may aspire to try and get into when they're on the detention side?
For detention, starting out detention deputy, there's promotion opportunity to become sergeant, lieutenant, as well as some of our certifications, becoming a certified breath test operator, a field training officer, our corrections emergency response team, which I'm a part of that. You know, getting that training, which we train as well with being on the CERT team with the patrol guys, with our, you know, we have the mobile field force, we have trained with SWAT. So those are some things there. There's other different certifications and trainings as well, which we go through St. John's for those certifications. So,
And I think, I don't know if a lot of people are aware, and I don't know how many agencies actually operate like this, but one thing about the Sheriff's Office is that our corrections and our sworn, our patrol guys, when it comes to things like mobile field force and other areas where, you know, they actually combine and work together,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
for training like that active shooter, because again, there's also positions as bailiff, and so, and all of us need to be on the same page when it comes to, you know, making sure we're training and uniformly and consistently so that we know how each other operate and moves. And I think that's a testament to the agency itself.
Sure.
Definitely.
And I mean, that's part of our motto in the training unit is what we got to do is step up the training to make sure that you go home at the end of the night.
And unify that training, right? With
Right.
our civilians, with our sworn, to make sure that everyone's training together for the common mission.
So we did have another question that came in, and that question was, what is the time frame of you hiring deputies and detention deputies? So,
It's going to be 12 to 16 weeks from the time the application is submitted to the hiring date.
so another person, and we did have a question that come in, are you able to reapply if you have been let go during probation? And if so, how long do you need to wait?
Well, it depends on the circumstances of why you were let go. So I really couldn't answer that because I wouldn't know the reasons why. I won't say that they could not apply. I think that if they want to apply, then they apply and we will look at that.
Another question that came in, are we hiring right now for deputies, both sworn and detention? and
We
corrections?
are.
yes, absolutely.
Yes.
They say, please get them some help.
So when we talk about, and I think this is actually, Chief, given the question we just had about someone being let go who is on probation, what are those best sought out qualities we are looking for in a candidate when they apply to this agency and we want to hire them at this agency?
Well, I think across the disciplines. So I think the main things that we look for is one, loyalty, one, honesty. We look at their community involvement. We look at just the person as a whole. Are they a good person, right? Are they ethical? Are they what will fit for our agency to move us forward? I think as a whole, that's what we start with, and then we just start building upon that when that background starts coming in.
And I think, you know, we all can attest, you know, given times today, we all want someone that's, you know, when they're in this job, you know, that wherever they are and doing this work, they're doing it the right way, and they're, like you said, they're going to be ethical in how
Correct.
they treat people, you know, because that is one of the main things, being able, how you speak to people, how you talk to people, but also how you can handle a situation that's under a crisis.
Right. Well, I think every position in this agency is a servant position, right? So we are all serving. We're serving the taxpayers, we're serving each other. So you have to have that mindset. If you come in with any other mindset than a servant leader, then it's just not going to work well for you.
So another question we have is, do we offer tuition reimbursement?
We do offer tuition reimbursement. So once you're off probation, there's a certain allotted funding through the budget. So how much that kind of changes depends on what the budget amount gives us for that year.
Okay. I know a lot of times you folks work for, who are maybe looking to come on with the sheriff's office, again, if you're out there, and you can go to claysheriff.com, but coming here to work for the sheriff's office and having that servant mentality, to want to be of service to a community, and to the folks you work for, to make sure that when you come and do this job, again, you are doing it ethically, but you have a sense of just that selflessness, to be able to want to help someone in a time of need, whether it's out in front or also in the back. And a lot of times folks see the uniform, but they don't see the personnel
That's
behind the
correct. That's
uniform.
right.
They don't see the personnel working inside to make sure that this agency is up and running, so that the services that folks need out there can get. Can we speak to that as a group, as far as our professional staff who work behind the scenes, and the testament to them, and those qualities we look for in them when they also want to come get hired on with the sheriff's office?
Well, as I mentioned before, I believe we look for that selflessness and that servant leader no matter what the position is, because the civilians are just as important as the sworn, right? So unfortunately, they are behind the badge and they don't get the spotlight as much as our sworn. However, at our agency, I do believe and I feel that the sworn patrol and detention do a great job at acknowledging our civilian staff. We've worked very hard at trying not to have a division, to really join as a family, as one, and not think that one position's any more important than the other.
Sure. No, 100% agree with you. We have staff assistants that are assigned to us in the training unit, and they are amazing. I mean, there's like hands down work their tails off to make sure that the day in and day work of the stuff, whether like Sergeant Maslin said, the block training, make sure that you're scheduled for this, make sure you do all this stuff. And it is very important, like Chief said, to the day in day work of everything, whether you're a records clerk, whether you're the front desk lady, whether at one of our operations centers, they are seeing that first person firsthand, and they're coming to one of these places because they're in need of a crisis. If they're not that, or the front jail lobby, they're coming in, and having that family atmosphere really helps here.
Definitely, even having the civilians inside of the jail, we have our clerks that they have to work with the clerk of courts with the paperwork and everything, transitioning, moving in that communication there. So our civilians, they do a great job with our NCIC specialists and court liaison and front desk with that communication with the public coming in. So they do an amazing job.
We couldn't do it without them.
Definitely.
Right?
Absolutely. So we did have another question, came in, a couple of questions. So one is, can you explain the out-of-state process to go to the police academy for sworn and those wanting to be coming to work for the sheriff's office?
Coming in from out of state, the process to apply is going to be the exact same as being in state. So they would really, if they were out of state and they wanted to go to I believe it's FDLE, if they go to the FDLE officer requirements certification, I think is the name of the page, it will outline everything for them. And then just get with the nearest academy that's accredited, that's going to allow them to have the equivalency. So before they can start with us at the start date, they will have to have the equivalency and pass that state exam.
That's where they cover it. Most of their high liabilities aspect of
Yes.
stuff like that is covered underneath that 2-week period. And then once you finish that, then you can do the state exam and get processed from there.
And again, speaking to those, if you are a certified law enforcement officer coming out of state and looking to get hired down in Florida or to get certified in Florida, it is a 2-week training class, and then you have to take the state certification. But make sure you have your training information with you that you can provide, because you will need all that information and your certification from that other state. And I believe for our military personnel who are military police officers, if you are a military police officer, you also qualify of being able to take a 2-week certification and then taking that state exam as well. So, but definitely go to FDLE's website where you can find out and get that information. One of the other questions was asked is, what are some of the growth opportunities, especially for crime scene techs? Now, we do have a crime scene unit, and they are civilians, but is there any growth potential for them when working for the agency?
If they want to stay in the crime scene arena and if they want to stay in that forensics, then honestly, it's just, we're just a sheriff's office, so we're just going to do that basic crime scene. If they're looking at like CSI or they're really wanting to embrace the forensic side, absolutely, they can get their training, get their experience here, and then that could lead to FDLE, right? So unfortunately not with us, because we're just limited to the agency that we are. They could go, but they might get where they want to be a supervisor. So it's not that they couldn't be a supervisor over the CSTs. That's always a stepping stone. It just really depends on the individual and what their goals are.
And you talk about, Drew, as you talk about with how much we cherish kind of our civilians, stuff like that. The crime scene technicians, those girls and guys are wonderful. You know, I worked in our homicide unit for a little bit of time, and excuse me, they would come to scenes, and then they were just, I'm asking them, what do you need me to do? Because they're very thorough, and they're very thorough on multiple different aspects of it. We have a great partnership with FDLE that, depending upon the case, maybe have 2 different crime scene scenes, or our techs and stuff like that. But our girls and guys that are assigned to our crime scene, because it is a full time, and you have to have a 4-year degree, I believe, to even be over with where those guys are at.
So we do have another question. Someone asked, if they have a misdemeanor, can they still be hired on by the sheriff's office?
Well, it would depend on what the misdemeanor was, when it was, and what the disposition of that was.
Okay. So we had another person ask the questions. For high school or young adults, what are the training and certifications applicants can get to give them the upper hand during a hiring process to put them in the best position to join our agency?
So it depends on the discipline, right? It depends on what job that they're going for. It's going to depend on if they're sworn, if they come to us already or wanting a sworn position, if they want to come to us already being certified, already having that under their belt. If they're civilians, if they want to come to us with additional experience and training within that field. But if they're coming straight out of high school, the best advice I can say is to go ahead and look into those college classes and see what they can do. And maybe start with our Explorer program. We have internship programs going on right now. So those are a couple of things that they could get involved with, maybe their junior and senior high school years, and then build upon that experience.
Like I said, between the Explorer program, which is, it's, don't hold me directly to it, but it's like 14 to 20 years of age.
Yes.
They can be part of that program. They do competitions. And it kind of gets their foot in the door where they do mock traffic stops. They do a bunch of different training, a bunch of different scenario-based stuff, and they can be represented throughout the state. Like I said earlier, use Clay High School for an example. So Clay High has a law enforcement program. Some of the people that go through it are currently deputies. Some of them are supervisors that are actually work for us. So they've continued to grow through that. I believe Orange Park High School actually has a forensics portion for the crime scenes and stuff like that. So if we could start them young, specifically at a high school age, stay out of trouble, obviously try to continue to grow. And again, the earlier you start, the earlier you retire.
and I believe Clay High also does the PSTs, or the public safety telecommunicators. I think they have an academy there too that by the time that the seniors graduate high school, they're already certified.
Yes.
Right, they have already taken that online class that I spoke of earlier. They already have that done.
Okay. And I think to the point, Explorer program, so for you, the young folks out there, especially those who are in high school that are getting ready to graduate and are looking for a career into law enforcement, the Explorer program is where you'll get some good discipline and training, but that's how you also build a rapport with the deputies and the folks working in this agency, because people will see you and they'll get to know you. And so you're already building up your character so that when you do want to get hired on, number one, that's a potential sponsorship from the sheriff's office to say, hey, we want to sponsor that guy because he went through the process. He went through our Explorer training, and and then he came and got hired on as a PSA, a public service aide. And so, those are the opportunities that can present themselves when you go through different trainings or go through those particular programs here in Clay County. One of the other things, and I know this question was asked and answered, but again, someone asked, if I'm a detention deputy, what is the crossover process and to get to the road? And will you pay for it, or do they have to pay for it themselves?
So yes, typically we would pay for that. I believe you have to be off probation, so at least a year, 2 years within the sheriff's office. Then you're put on a waiting list to see how many positions are available for sponsorship.
Okay. So I have some questions that came in from our Facebook page, and one of it is, I am a sergeant already, and I apply. Would I start as a deputy? So this
Yes.
person is already a supervisor, but wants to apply. So what would their start salary be, and what would they start as?
So they would start, if it's a sergeant of patrol or they're a sergeant in corrections, they would still go back to the line level when they start here. Our promotion, we have a selection process, and you have to go through our process in order to be promoted. So they would start as the line deputy at $38,000, and the sign-on bonus that we mentioned earlier based on experience.
Okay. And another person asks, will my benefits transfer from state corrections to the county, or are they different?
I do not believe, but they transfer over, but I do not know that answer.
So when it comes to like the insurance and things like that, our insurance is different from the state. So that would be different. As far as their leave time, I don't know if it's still the same, but they were able to transfer over their leave. I don't know if that's something that we still do.
Or the retirement, I'm assuming
And
the
the-
retirement would probably
Right, and the
roll.
retirement as well rolls over.
If they're in FRS, that would roll over.
Yes.
Their personal leave time that they're bringing from the Department of Corrections, I am not sure if that rolls over any longer.
Okay. And another person asked, I am certified corrections. Can I take a tour of the jail before I apply?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we encourage people, if you're looking to want to get hired on, or looking for a career in law enforcement, or to come work for the sheriff's office, go to our website and sign up, to do a ride along, because you can come
Absolutely.
out and ride along with our deputies out on patrol. So, and Jake, I know you have done that on several different
Sure.
occasions. So can you speak to a little bit about
Absolutely.
folks coming
Obviously,
out
so
and
you
ride
have to they're going to do a background check on you, make sure that you're just not just somebody that wants to come and learn how the secrets and stuff like that, how the sheriff's office work. One of the programs that I've been involved in was the Citizens Academy. So with the Citizens Academy, the ride-along program was actually part of the
Yes.
Citizens Academy. So they get to come out, they get really involved. We'll put them with some of the deputies that are really just go-getters and try to see how the ins and outs of how a patrol aspect work. Now, from a jail, I don't.
No, we
I
the
don't
Citizens
know.
Academy, they
Yeah.
have come through,
Yeah,
toured the
we've done
jail, and
tours.
we'll walk them around.
They can
And do
come
a tour.
tour,
Yeah,
dispatch. I think we're really an open book, so as long
Yeah.
as they pass through the background checks and a few things that they need to have occur, then they can come through and
When I was
shadow.
with the program, I called it behind the scenes Disney of the Clay County Sheriff's Office, because it does. It leads you from everywhere between the citizens of the county want to know where where does all this money that I'm paying into, where does my taxes go? Well, the sheriff's office has that big armored car. Why do we need that? Though if you look on the back of it, it was grant funded, okay? So we're part of a regional response team. That's how we got the kind of cool equipment that we have. That it doesn't come out of your money or my money. I live in Clay County, lived here my, entire adult life, but it's one of those things that it explains a lot of how the things and how the sheriff's office works from a HR perspective, from a detention perspective, from the communications, from the courthouse. We've, partnered with Ms. Green to learn how that side of it works. So it's really good programs that we have.
Okay. So a person asks, how can I find all of the open positions that are available at the sheriff's office?
Go to the Clay County Sheriff's Office website, click on Join Our Team, and they are there.
So the positions sometimes don't have hire dates. Are you always hiring for those? So in other words, those positions that may be out there that don't have a hire date?
That is correct. So we are always accepting applications for those.
So another question someone asked earlier on a couple of weeks ago, and we made sure to write that down, is what does our PAT test consist of? Basically, in order to get hired on the sheriff's office, there is a physical abilities test
Sure.
you have to take. Jake, can you speak to that a little
Absolutely. So being assigned to the training unit, that's part of my duties is to run the pre-employment physical agility test. So with us, you start in a vehicle, you run 25 yards sprint, drag a sled, 150-pound sled, 25 yards, climb over stairwells, lift 70-pound weight, do a serpentine, and finish strong. You have a minute and a half to complete it in. From a detentions perspective, it's almost everything except for launching from the vehicle. You should do the same sprint, drag the sled, cross over stairs. They actually do a handcuffing, and then when they get around the curve of it, they put on an SCBA or an air pack, and that's when their time stops.
Okay. So we did, another question came in, is can you take public tours? Can the public take tours of the sheriff's office?
Yes.
It's the people's building, it's the taxpayers'
Absolutely.
building. So another person asked, educational level do you need? What type of educational level do you need to work here?
So depends on the position. So basic positions is going to be your high school diploma, general equivalency diploma, but it depends on what the position is. If it's a specialty, maybe a finance position, an HR position, or certain specialties, you'll need more education based on that qualification.
Yeah, like our crime scene technicians. I mean,
Correct.
you have to have
They need a four-year degree.
But again, from general, and the good thing is that they're still offering, like through the certain colleges, they're offering all these different classes that you can attend to, to finish your degrees throughout the agency.
And so one more question that came in is, how much more can you make other than $38,000 after you've worked here a certain amount of years?
So unfortunately, again, we do not have a step plan in place at this point. The sheriff's working very hard at trying to implement that. So there is no built-in step plan. It's $38,000 until we can come up with a budget increase and try to work that in.
Depending upon the specialty team, you
Well,
may
yes,
get
you
extra
got-
pay for being on a specialty team. But you can't like load up on a specialty team. You can't be on every specialty team.
So about
out there.
100 a month.
But it's
About 100 a
equivalent to-
month.
Sure. It's
Yeah.
like being on SWAT, we get paid extra. Plus, if we have a SWAT call out, we get paid overtime for that, and that's money that's built in through the budget. Like I said, like Chief Chapman said, we're kind of governed by the Board of County Commissioners and the sheriff submits our budget, and this is what we can deal with.
And that would be the same for in detention.
Yes.
You get paid as well for being on the CERT team, as well as if you're a breath test operator, a field training officer, you get paid addition as well for those things.
And you get paid for your education. So if you come with a 2-year degree, you get paid $40 a month, I believe. And if you come with a bachelor's, you get $80 a month. So we do try to find some kind of small incentives that we could work in there.
And I want to say in the communications department, I'm going to school to be a communications training officer, so there's things like that. We do stuff with SWAT. We get called out to SWAT calls where they go to the mobile command center. The TERT team is if there's some kind of hurricane or something out of the area, they'll send us to go help out with their dispatch of the resources and whatnot. So there is options in the communications department as well, not just
Right.
the sworn side.
Right.
Another person that asked, are there any off-duty opportunities?
So
There-
there's bunches for law
Bunches.
enforcement.
Yeah, from a law enforcement, yes, there is. There's multiple different, entities throughout the county that hire off-duty deputies to work at their events, or the Orange Park Mall, a bunch of the movie theaters, so on and so forth. There is plenty up to road construction. Look how fast this county's growing. So there is ample opportunity to make secondary. And remember, if you work on a patrol side, you only work 6 months out of the year. So on your off days, you can go work that.
And detention has opportunity. They
We
have
have our
hospital watch,
our
transport,
SWEAT program.
Sweat,
Yeah. Sweat. Oh, they're still doing that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah.
yes.
And so, and of course, another person, can civilians make overtime?
Yes,
Working?
when it's needed.
Okay. And another person asked, can we explain in just a little bit of how the tuition reimbursement, our benefits, vacation, and sorts like that, how that works for the sheriff's office?
So tuition reimbursement starts a year after the person is hired with the sheriff's office and they're off probation. Then again, it's based on funding. So as long as you're going to an accredited college, we look at that, you put in for it, and we start paying those, we reimburse you for the classes, basically, as long as you meet certain criteria. Say that again, what was the second part?
The second part was,
Oh, benefits.
Benefits, yes.
So our benefits start the day that you start. We can accrue leave at we just started a new leave plan, so I want to say it's like, can I
under
look
the
at my
old-
paper?
You sure?
I'm under the old plan.
Me too.
So we just started
I
a
can
new
recite
plan,
that.
so unfortunately, yeah, sorry about that.
Absolutely.
But we have sick, we have annual leave.
You're roughly going to get 6 and some
Oh yeah,
change.
you're on the new
Yes.
plan, aren't you?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
So
one
he's better
day.
at
Each
answering
paycheck,
that.
you're going to get 6 hours of leave time, and then
Good,
that
I
adds
was
up.
good at that.
We do have a different. They started how long ago? I don't know, before my time, but maybe 2 years ago. So we have each paycheck you would get a certain amount of leave time, which the new people would start 6 hours.
I think it's like 6.10 hours of leave every payday.
Okay.
So
well
then
as
that
our
starts the
holidays.
day you start. And then you have all your holidays. I believe there's 11 or 12 paid
your
holidays. Your birthday. We count your birthday. We count holidays, birthdays. You get all your health insurance. You get your dental, your vision. And actually the prices aren't that bad. I mean, that is one of our benefits that we
Absolutely.
get. That
Sure.
They're not that bad.
Right.
So, and this is the last question before we close, is, if each of you can, in a short way, why Clay County Sheriff's Office? Why should people come and work for the Clay County Sheriff's Office?
I just think the people here are amazing, and the community. They're my friends. They're my neighbors. They're my ex-coworkers. They're whatnot. I wanted to work here before I worked here because where I worked before, I was in contact with a lot of the deputies and stuff like that. So I don't know. Just everybody I've met here is just amazing. I can't speak more highly of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
to work
like
here
it's-
and make a difference,
Yeah. It's like being that small piece of the puzzle, I mean, it truly feels good when you come here. Yes, do we have good and bad days? Absolutely. Does everybody have good and bad days, no matter what position you're in? Absolutely. But it does make you feel good, and like everybody here's kind of touched upon it. One of the biggest things is our community. The backing that our community provides this agency is amazing. Some of the restaurants you go into to eat, whenever you're trying to scarf down food real quick or something along those lines, and they're like, hey, thank you for your service. Or you go to pay for your meal and it's already paid for. That doesn't happen a lot of places, especially in today's day and age. But our community absolutely loves this as a whole, no matter whatever you're on the detention side, telecommunications, law enforcement, we've done amazing stuff. And that's part of the things that I talk to our new hires about. I'm like, hey, make sure that you are in this business for that community base. I don't care if you're a brand new patrol guy. You can still get out there and you can meet the people in your area, and they're going to help you make sure that they feel safe in their own communities.
So it's pride, it's pride. So as the new people that want to join us, right? Because I know we have some out there. When they put on that uniform or they put on their clothes to come to work, I think they really will have a sense of pride. They will have a sense that we make a difference today. And so that's why I've been here 23 years.
Yeah.
Come be a part of something special.
And as we start to wrap up, I think that is the biggest driver, is that to be able to come and work for an agency and be a part of something that is truly special, to be involved in a community that truly supports its law enforcement personnel, not only, again, on the sworn side from patrol and corrections, but also civilian side. Because we can't speak to the public enough about how many times food is donated just for our civilian staff.
Absolutely.
You know, for our 911 dispatchers, you know, for our behind-the-scenes personnel that are actually doing the job that no one sees, where businesses come in and say, hey, this is for your civilian staff, and we want to thank them for the service that they provide to us and to the community. So we do definitely appreciate everyone that logged in to watch the Clay County Sheriff's Office first Facebook Live recruitment event. We want to thank you for logging in. We thank you for the wonderful questions that you submitted. And if there's questions that remain out there that you have, please feel free to send us a message, and we will answer those questions. Also, feel free to go to our website and you can submit those questions. But feel free to go to our website if you're interested. We want those who want to come and be of service, who are looking to join the law enforcement career, whether it's in the front wearing a uniform or behind the scenes wearing plain clothes. Please go to our website, claysheriff.com, and click on the resource and join CCSO or join us now. And you will see where it'll take you to our website where you'll see a list of jobs that are available. We want the best, but we also want those that's committed to service. So if that is you, if you are out there and want to be part of a great team, a great community, and a great organization, please join the Clay County Sheriff's Office. Again, my name is Andrew Ford, the Public Information Officer. We'd definitely like to thank our panel that helped us today answering your questions. And we hope to see everybody soon, and we look forward to seeing your questions if there are any more out there. Thank you, everyone, and have a great and wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.